Welcome everyone. Today we're going to be talking about a really interesting topic, the ISO 19650 auditing process and getting certified in the information management framework that is ISO 19650. And as we saw lots of people from around the world joining us from lots of different countries, this is an important topic and it's important for everyone to talk the same language. So that's what this process and this workflow can do for us. And this is an interesting quote that we have on the screen. I woke up this morning and all I really wanted to do was take an ISO 19650 audit. Akos, who was the quote from?
I'm thinking. I can't recall. Tell me.
Nobody ever said that. Nobody ever woke up in the morning and said, I want to do this. Why would you ever want to take an audit? Isn't an audit scary? Isn't it something that nobody really wants to do? Well, yeah, nobody said this. Hopefully, at the end of this process, more people might want to do it, but you would have to do so much. So if you think about the audit process, only a fraction of a percent of companies in the AEC space have taken the audit, because you would have to do a lot of things. And they start from, wow, this is a long to-do list. First of all, obviously, no way around it. You need to purchase the official documents, at least parts 1 and 2. Need to read them. Akos, how many times have you read them?
Countless. I can't tell. I remember sleepless nights going through them a few times. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. And you learn a sort of a new language as well. Sometimes the terms and terminology and 3-letter acronyms. You need to create a training program for your team so that everyone else can go through it. And they're not hankering to learn this stuff. You have to really spoon feed it to them. Awareness, so starting to get people in leadership involved, mapping out your current processes, understanding gaps. What else on this list has you interested or actually a little bit scared?
Well, all of them pretty much. I mean, if we talk with people, we hear like defining naming conventions as pretty the entry level topic to this standards, and that is causing problems. That's a funny one. To make sure that you are not calling your files updated actual final dot whatever, so avoiding all those. So that's for example one that I hear being a problem.
Yep, and everyone has to develop their own procedures and templates and understanding the responsibilities of everyone and conveying that to people and making sure that everything is in place so that teams can get trained on this information requirements processes, understand what even exchange information requirements are and how to define them, making sure that your whole supply chain understands their obligations, and also going through maybe mock tests to try and find out whether it's going to break when you put it in place. It's kind of like the mobilization planning. And then preparing from a legal perspective. Obviously, you have to loop in the legal team. You have to conduct certain audits, document everything, make sure that it's all prepared. So there's so much that you need to do. And that is really why, in general, it feels quite difficult. We hear this a lot from companies saying that generally there's sort of an understanding that there's a lot of paperwork maybe that needs to occur. People are unfamiliar with some of these new terminology and these workflows. People don't really want to do an audit, and it's a lot of upfront effort that can be time consuming, and it can be really resource intensive. So that's why we are introducing today a new 3-step ISO 19650 system. And we've really kind of fallen into this by a few different things, but one of them, some feedback from auditors a few years ago that really encouraged us to see that what we were doing with the Planoly platform was that it was making it easier, and so much easier that one auditor said that it was a dream to audit a company that had used Planoly to show and to prove their ISO 19650 processes and workflows. And so we started creating some training as well, and the expert level ISO 19650 training has been done now by I think 1,000 people, and has rave reviews, which is fantastic. But it made us realize that there was something else that we could do as well. And actually, let me just show you exactly what this is, and you guys can see, and then we'll jump back to the slides as well. So if I jump to Plannerly on plannerly.com, and then on our training site, we have 3. The advanced one is coming, but we accelerated the information manager and our expert level training because it was in such high demand. But you'll now see also a new one here, which is the company level ISO 19650 certification readiness course. It's a free training, and if I click into it, you'll see the training program. So if you want to, you can enroll on this and go through. There is a prerequisite that you do the expert level course first, but the basic process is 3 steps. It's running you through a gap analysis, getting you audit ready by preparing you with all of the things that are and filling the gaps, and then how to prepare for the audit and all the general things that people don't really know about audits, and it therefore making it a lot easier, a lot less stressful, and understanding exactly what to expect and being able to take that audit process and think about it as actually a beneficial thing for the company to have process improvement and have an opportunity to showcase this certification and to really get a better an improvement in the company workflow and in process and efficiencies. There is a certificate as well to this, and it is available now. So that's something that afterwards I'd love for you to jump into and start reviewing and give us feedback as well. It will be continually improved as well. And one of the great things about the process in here, actually, let me just show you in here, is that it kicks off with this compliance checklist. And that is a really detailed checklist. We'll show you that in a second. So the ISO 19650 new 3-step system for getting your company certified, not just individually, but also starting to help your company to get certified. Akos, what do you think that this process brings to organizations? What do you see as being a benefit to get certified like this?
Well, first of all, I just wanted to share the link, but for some reasons, the chat is disabled for me. So plannerly.com/training. What is it going to bring? It's going to bring, I believe, confidence in ISO 19650. So getting access to all that great learning that the industry has gone through over the past decades and put it into a globally recognized standard, which is ISO 19650. But I don't want to say that it's going to be very, very simple, because you still have to do some learning along the way, right. But it's somehow lowering the bar to get accredited and really to follow ISO 19650 on your projects.
Yeah, exactly. There was a huge list that we went through of all the things you might have to do. We've streamlined a lot of that so that it's presented in a way that is ready to consume, and it's something that will streamline and fast track your company certification for sure. But yeah, there's still some hard work to do, absolutely. And it's something that we're going to learn through with you, as we've also done that with a number of companies to help them get certified. This is kind of a culmination of what that program has been, and trying to automate a lot of it through videos so that teams can understand it and more teams can follow this workflow. And I suppose we ask, what is this workflow? So if we think about ISO 19650, it's all about, it's a framework, and it's an international standard that helps us to collaboratively define information exchange requirements. And it's for every type of project in the design and construction industry, and it's for every stage, whether it's the thought of a new project or whether it's a redevelopment of an existing asset or whether it's something that is a completely new build at any point, or operation of an existing asset, any type of project. And the framework is about standardizing and having a common terminology. It's about clearly defining who is responsible for what, the accountability, etc., understanding those roles and responsibilities. And as I mentioned, it's about the whole life cycle of a built asset. So if you want to know more about ISO 19650, we've got a bunch of tools, a bunch of resources, a bunch of videos on our YouTube page as well. And we also have another webinar that we will be talking about a lot more in the ISO 19650 workflow. Why is it important? Well, it's important because it offers us have a best practice that is a global best practice. It's official. It's not just one place in the world doing one thing and somebody else, some other country doing something else. But you do have the opportunity to have a national annex to be able to have a specific way of doing certain things in your country. it enables us to be clear, organized, and secure. There's a security part, there's a health and safety part, there's a whole bunch of really important steps that are mapped out in processes to help us all step through and know that we're making sure that we've got a checklist of things that we need to do on every project. And it's about having efficient collaboration. So it's what we see, the benefit is more efficiency, more likelihood that you're going to win more projects on projects outside of maybe your region potentially, and giving you the opportunity to expand. And in order to show that you are following ISO 19650, you can get certified. And what do you see? I love the competitive edge. I think that winning more bids is a big thing. So if you're going for tenders and you have this certification, sometimes it's actually a mandatory thing. It's starting to become more so. Akos, what do you see? Why do you think that this certification process might matter to some companies?
Yeah, of course, the competitive edge is a really important one, but also, as I tried to mention earlier as well, so ISO 19650 is a compilation of great learnings of our industry, our best practices, and following ISO 19650 also assures that we are actually executing projects in an efficient way, in a collaborative way, and avoiding all those pitfalls that can be avoided by following these standards.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the impact, I mean, the sort of converse, the opposite of it is really you kind of might have information voids, misalignments, inefficiencies. It really could be this, but if you have the badge, it's not just saying that you do it, but hopefully you're gaining those efficiencies as well. And if you think about the certification process, in order to get there, we need to break things into clearer tasks. We need to identify what the main goals are and assign responsibilities so that we can really tackle everything as in a systematic way. And we need to build this knowledge, this set of skills within our teams to not just have the processes, but also implement them and show that we are implementing them. And therefore, we have, I mentioned in the first introduction to the training, we have an accompanying checklist. It's a certification checklist. It's really easy to follow. It has step-by-step all the way through it to really understand what you need to do. And for this one, I'm going to jump into Planoly itself. So if you're on the Planoly website, you can log into Planoly if you want to. If you have not got an account yet, you can hit join free, and you can use any one of your profiles to be able to log in. It just so happens that I have an account, and if I go back to my projects and create a completely new project, I'm going to be able to, first of all, get access to a raft of all of the documentation. So if you are following and need a template that you don't have, then we've got you covered. Everything from the exchange information requirements through to understanding the contractual language and the appointment documentation, mobilization plans, etc. And with just one click, I think maybe if you've seen us before, you know that you can create a BIM execution plan loaded with your information specific data in not just a Word document form, but a database driven smart document. And you can start managing that in the docs module. But the thing that I wanted to share is in the scope, we have access to, again, a library. So on the left-hand side, you have this library of information. And in our templates, in the Planoly templates, we have now this information checklist, ISO 19650 checklist. And this checklist is broken down into the different stages, the 8 stages, and each one of those has a set of tasks. And if we wanted to include these in our project, I could just simply hit the add button, and then we will add those to our project for that whole folder, for the whole set of tasks. And once we start using these tasks in our project, we'll be able to see exactly whether we're following it and whether we're actually gaining those advantages on our checklist, on our set of tasks. So once this adds this set of requirements to our project, he says confidently,
I believe this is actually a key, because the standard itself, reading the standard, as mentioned earlier as well, it takes some time. Part one, part two, but then there are other parts as well which have to be read. Sleepless nights of reading, but then it's a beast. So where do we start? For me, it was a huge realization to having this checklist, which is leading into smaller actionable items and tasks, is a key really to be able to tackle this huge challenge.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you look at these tasks in a consolidated form, it starts to become more obvious about what you need to do. And we've built this so that you can really understand it, and it's explained to you in plain language. So for example, the appointing information managers, there's a description, there's a subtitle that understands more. There's a bit of a description. It talks about where the clause comes from and relates to certain things in ISO 19650. And then importantly, there's a set of checklist items that are able then to be assigned to a team member or a team, so that you can really get to not just have a list and a checklist, but also have accountability for who is on the hook for doing these things. We have videos throughout that whole training program that explain exactly how to do all of these things, and how to status them, and how to create a gap analysis report from this, and how to fill all of those gaps as well. So this is a process that has a really detailed set of videos, but also there are more, and we'll be releasing a video for every single thing on the checklist over the coming weeks. And so you'll feel very confident that you've got an explanation for every single piece of that puzzle that you have to go through. And with this checklist, you have also this simple system. So it's not just about having a checklist and going through it. It's actually about a supported system and learning by going through the training, not just the training to get certified, but also there's basics training for information managers right the way through from basics, advanced, and expert levels. And we also have exercises to be able to apply that knowledge. And we have the support to go through the audit process as well. So that's all within this series of tasks. And if I go back to, let me go to the training program again, and then I'll show you inside of here the structure that we follow. So the gap analysis starts with understanding that checklist. We go through a readiness check and we understand exactly where the gaps are. We create a report from that. And then after you've run your gap analysis, we start to develop your action plan for what you need to do. And from that, you'll see there will be a series of videos, probably, unfortunately, maybe 30 videos that will also be released as part of this. And afterwards, you'll be going through the certification process, step-by-step audit preparation, what to expect, what does the audit look like, the 2 stages in an audit, what other companies maybe sometimes get hung up on, how to go through the non-conformances and how to fix these issues. And essentially, we are helping team members become that champion inside of your organization to be able to support your organization through that audit process and become certified. So it's a lot, and therefore we want to be able to have a supported path through this as well. It's all free. You actually have a free option where you can just jump on and start going through the training program yourself, and then completely independently. And you could ask questions through the chat if you wanted to. And then we have a supported program, a 60-day supported program, which is actually, you have meetings on a bi-weekly basis. We actually help push you through those parts. And that's for everyone that is a customer of Planoly, but it's free of charge. There's no charge for that. So we would love to support you if that's what you would like to do as well. The 60-day program, let's talk about that quickly. Let me go to our 60-day program. This was the quote. I do love this quote. It says it all. The fact that, you know, the client, the person that's getting audited, they have a much easier way of getting audited, and also the auditor has a much easier process to audit the company. And this 3-step system, in order to get it audited in 60 days, is really an accelerated way to demonstrate your compliance. As it says, boost reputation and win more work. It's all detailed on this page. So we show you all of these and how we work with you to identify your gaps through weeks 1 and 2. Weeks 3 to 6, we get you audit ready. And this is supported through a series of online sessions with your team. And also we even can book your audit process with a UCAS approved auditor and be able to get your certification, get your team ready for that certification. You can book a call with us if you want to go through this. We'd love to work with you, and yeah, let's meet and understand more about what we can do with you. But oh, now I need to jump back to my slides. There we go. But this is a process that you can also take on your own and just call out for help if you need it. But we're here to support you through that process. Akos, any thoughts on the program, on the 60-day program? What do you think would be the biggest benefit to going through the 60-day program rather than just the self-supported version?
Right. Well, with the 60-day program, you get, of course, access to our support, but also the templates are going to be a great help in going through the process. And whenever you find a gap in your processes, because actually it might happen that you are already covering a lot, and you want to make sure that it is following ISO terms and the ISO process steps. So aligning your own processes to the ISO expectations, that's what's going to happen. And it will be a great help to get access to the resources, to the templates from the Planner team to make sure that you can fill those gaps as efficiently as possible. That's how it is possible actually to reduce this duration to a much more manageable 60-day instead of making it a lengthy process.
Yeah, so it's the speed. I think that's a really important part. Is there's a lot to cover, but it's about not having to do all of the administration and to create your own checklist and to create your own training program and to bring everyone on board to go through that. And then when you find gaps, you can fill them more quickly. We have templates for every single part of that workflow, as you said. So it's the speed probably that's a big benefit. Obviously, you also in your audit have to show that you are using this on a project. So that's something that we would work with you on to fast track as well. Overall, yeah, it's like I sort of cringe when I see that the GIF on the right hand side, turning was that a C into an A+ and turning an F into an A+, and turning a D into an A+. I think that it's not cheating, it's just like strategic, and this program helps you to get there quickly. Having online access to all of the training so that everyone can do that anytime. It's really interactive. We like to have fun as well. We like to make this actually quite a pleasurable thing rather than a painful process. And we plan out all these steps so that everyone can follow this and optimize their information management across all of their phases of their project. I think that's a big one. Instead of it being a process that people should fear and that people sort of put off, it's an opportunity for improvement. And even if you're not thinking about getting audited, maybe it's worth going through the checklist and just finding out how close you are to being ISO 19650 compliant throughout your project. The process can feel very intimidating when you sort of say, I want to get audited, or anything about non-conformances. It sounds like people are basically telling you that you're doing everything wrong. Why shouldn't they fear an audit, Akos? What do you think some of the things are that might help them to not fear it?
Yeah, so what we are trying to do here with the 60-day program, but also with all the free resources and trainings that we have, is trying to demystify this entire process. So going through the basic, advanced, and expert level trainings will help everyone understand what steps have to be taken, what are those acronyms and terminology being used, what is the ISO process. So of course, demystifying the entire process and the audit along the way is going to be a great help to go into that audit without fear. And if you choose to participate in the 60-day program, the support that you can get from the Planner team is also going to help you be more confident in this audit.
Yeah, an audit process really is 2 steps. One is that you have followed this checklist and you can understand that you have these templates and these processes in place. And the second step is proving that you're using those steps, those processes on a project. And I think that overall, that's the way that we can demystify this. It's not rocket science. It's not overly complex. It's not something that you should fear. And because you don't go through an audit every day, it's natural to potentially fear it. But we can help you and your team understand that it's not something that you should fear. We can definitely walk you through that and make everyone feel a lot more comfortable. And yeah, the audit process can actually be quite useful for a company. I like the Akos, you said that it's a team building exercise. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not a one man thing to go through an audit. The entire team has to go through trainings and make sure that they are compliant with the respective process steps. So actually, teams are working together on preparing for this audit, and they are going through this challenge together. So of course, it is in the end going to be a team building exercise that they can celebrate together when they get to that stage to go through the audit.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. And so from an ISO 19650 journey perspective, we would beckon you to access the training with the checklist. The link will be thrown in the chat. It's plannerly.com/training. And then there are other training programs that you can also sign up for. They're all free, no charge for any of those at the moment. So that's something that we have been. A lot of people say this is a training program that there should be a charge to it, but we want to keep them free as long as possible. And then getting supported, as Akos mentioned, you can do this without any support potentially if you're already following ISO 19650 and maybe you just need the checklist to be able to find out where your gaps are and take you through that process. That's one way of doing it, but you can also join our 60-day program and get support through that, and we will keep you. It's like having an advisor, a coach, and walking you through the checklist and complementing your processes with some templates that maybe would be useful to show adherence to certain parts of that workflow as well. And then we will also welcome you to attend our next webinar, which will be in February, and that will be talking about streamlining and automating the implementation of ISO 19650. So some tips there. One of the things we'll be talking about is simplifying the process map of ISO 19650, how we understand and create a set of exchange information requirements for the tender, how we respond to that with a package that's the pre-appointment BIM execution plan, and how we would then go about appointing and actually contracting for, then mobilizing and producing information, having some way of going through automation for specifying and for checking, and then also for learning and closing out a project. All of this will be something that we'll share, and all the templates for every single one of these. And we'll also be unpacking in that webinar the level of information need framework. It can be another daunting part to this workflow, but we have a very simple way of displaying all of these requirements for that framework in a very visual grid, and something that we will be sharing a lot more about in that webinar as well. How you can define exactly the purpose and the exact requirements, whether it's information, geometry, documentation, whether it's checklists, links, responsibility, accountability, all of that in a very simple way. So join us for that one. I'm sure that link will also go in the chat as well for registering for that next webinar. Thanks so much, everybody. See you on the 25th.